liberty in America is under assault. We no longer live in a reality that includes property rights. We're no longer the kings of our own castle. We no longer enjoy the true benefits of capitalism. Instead, we're negotiating our rights with our own government. This isn't how our country was founded. These aren't the ideas of our founders. It's time to seize back our country. This is the Liberty Hour, where these important issues will be discussed for the sake of America's future. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Constitution in the other, here's your host, Sean Thompson.
This is the Liberty Hour podcast. We are back, baby. Studio had major upgrade. This is very exciting, all new technology. So as you know, with technology, sometimes it goes a little longer than anticipated. So we were off for a week. I'd like to pretend I did something useful with that week, but I really didn't, due to the fact I sell real estate here in Illinois. And there's really nothing useful you can do when you sell real estate here in Illinois if you're not willing to fluff, deceive, exaggerate. I want to say lie, but, it's too harsh. But they clearly, here's the thing. When you're a real estate professional, you know what's what. You know it. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. A lot of these companies have these rah-rah meetings where they call everybody in, be optimistic, talk about the economy. And that's not really what they want you to focus on is the economy, because there are a couple different ways to look at the economy. The macro, the micro, and the personal, right? These are three different things that con men of all flavors, whether they be running for office or trying to get you to pay some more for something that you should, they're going to give you the BS. They're going to give you the spiel. Confidence. That's why in con man, it's a derivative of confidence man. Because once they have your confidence, you let your guard down. You tend to believe them. My grandmother used to say, all an expert is somebody you don't know in a suit. And isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? All of a sudden, we take people because they have a business card and a suit jacket on as an expert. That's part of the reason I don't like to wear pants in there, boys. See, they make fun of me. I don't like pants. I like shorts. My legs were made for shorts. Anyway, what they do is they get all dialed up and they want you to look at the illusion. It's like the three-card Monte. They want you to look at the illusion and they want to give you false confidence. So in one essence, they're telling you what you want to hear. They're giving you that false sense of optimism, and they're making you invest in a state, in this particular case, most often a county, but more the broader picture of this state that is technically bankrupt. It's the only way to look at it. I know that you don't want to hear those two words together, and I know that there's the technicians out there who say, well, a state can't, and I'm one of them, by the way. A state can't go bankrupt because they have the power to tax. Well, that's true to one extent, but they don't have the power to get the money when you were to take apart the citizens' assets. So at this point, they are above their ability to tax because the people of means simply move. Out of the 300 people a day who are moving, how many of those are people who do not aspire to make more than they do today or have money and they're afraid that you're going to take it? I think that makes up, I don't know, you could argue over percentages of the split, but those are the people leaving as Illinois devolves into a welfare state, which is exactly what's happening here. So when you're a real estate broker in Illinois, unless your advice is sell Mortimer and sell, and if anybody writes a contract that you can at least have the ability to sell, take it. Because the forecast on the horizon is a tsunami. Not a storm, but a tsunami. As it's clearly evident as time goes on that the Chicago Democrat fraud, Pritzker, who we've now moved to the most important position of the state, is going to use his power to tax the Illinoisans who were not, I want to say stupid enough, but who were not orientated to live in the city, that those are the people that will be bailing out this city issue. It's absolutely going to happen. And they may hide it at first with various gas taxes and various taxes on products, but your money in the state of Illinois is going to bail out the fraud and the skullduggery in Chicago, Cook County. It's happening, whether you like it or not. And that is a violation of exactly what politics is supposed to be. You're not supposed to be liable for another area's misuse of funds and fraud. And the idea for most of us who have looked at Chicago for exactly what it is, a mafia-run hub. There are not Chicago Democrats. That is the Chicago Democrat mafia family. Now, they may have different heads. You may have the Burks and the Madigans and the Cullertons and whoever, the Daley regime. But make no mistake about it, that is an organization where it's run is specifically like a mafia. The only way you get ahead is through paying up and kicking up to the Don. The only way you get a contract is through paying up and kicking up to the soldiers, the capos. The only way you can actually operate is to kick up. Now, they may hide them in fees. They may hide them in licenses and procedures, which, by the way, those procedures are not the same for the inside guys. They are not the same procedures for the inside Chicago Mafia Democrat, the guy connected. I got a guy. You know how we make fun of that. I got a guy. Those people don't go through the same process as the stranger. And that's how they protect that infrastructure that has existed for 100 years. On my way in, I heard about a new FBI director. Oh, okay. Well, what was the old one doing? In fact, what was every single one of the FBI so-called heads of Chicago? What were you doing for the last 70 years? Because we've become a punchline, a national punchline. Where you talk, I look at all of the news feeds that I can. I love Drudge. I love Zero Hedge. I like to search on all the search engines. I don't hate them because they may not agree with my conservative values. I even like the Google News page, the Yahoo News page. And it is now to the point where once a week, Illinois is the punchline. Illinois is the warning signal for other states. Where you're visiting other states, you say you're from Illinois, and they look at you like, oh, you must know Sam Giancana. And you know something? It's understandable. And who's allowed this to happen are the supposed citizens who, rather than fight against it, realized, and I realize this too, I'd make a lot more money if I shut my mouth. I'd make a lot more money if I would shut my mouth, if I would be around these half men who are running on reputations they didn't earn and just went along with the system. Who knows what I could have been? One of those firemen, gamers, food connoisseurs. Maybe I could have had one of those contracts. Huh? Little buying on, hold my taxes real low. You know, the way in which the aldermen, when they speculate on property, like Louis Gutierrez, the way that they freeze all property taxes or avoid them together. And you think he's the only one that does it? Or is he just one of the very, very few that ever get caught? So who's to blame for this? Everybody who keeps quiet. And what happens when you realize I could make more money if I shut my mouth and you go along with it and you sell that piece of your character? What happens is Chicago, Illinois, circa 2019. There you go, where it's a joke. It's a joke. And who they have as jokes are their politicians. And now we're to a point where politicians aren't elected on ideas, on fundamentals, on principles. They're not even elected because they can get things done. In fact, in most cases, they're elected because they will not upset the apple cart. So you have completely turned Chicago, Illinois into Palermo, Sicily. That's the comparison. And instead of correcting it, you've now given it a raise to one of the most influential members of this Chicago Mafia Democrat family, Pritzker, who is going to use his authority to make the farmer who's never been in on the scam, to make the hourly worker who pretends there's a union behind him and fighting for him. Those are the backs of the people that they will bail out this absolute and total fraud that they've known is going on. This isn't news to them. You think as Eddie Burke would be in the Viagra triangle, he would be shocked at the allegations he was corrupt? Or did he celebrate it like he earned it? Like a 2-bit mobster on a Friday night with his pinky ring and his girlfriend sitting there. So what's the repercussions of this? Oh, your pretend wife, who we're supposed to be quiet that he wasn't on Rush Street every Friday night with a different shkadal. His wife gets elected to the highest office. Oh, here she is. Look at, she's the Honorable Judge Burke. How you could even put those words together in a sentence is an insult to anybody with an IQ over 60. And what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. And the FBI director will come in, and what will happen? FBI, forever bothering Italians. They'll go to certain neighborhoods and point out whoever isn't getting along with the real crime family. It's a scam. It's a scam. So how do you sell real estate in there? Yeah, hey, buy in here. It's a good buy. A lot of value. Sure it is. You pan back and look at the macro picture. You got to be out of your mind to buy real estate in Illinois. Or you're strapped here for love and affection and your business status. And then you're just along for the ride. Then you just pick a seat on the Titanic. Because they're the only lifeboats, they're already occupied. Those lifeboats aren't going to save the people. Those are the ones that are in on this scam. Those are the ones that are making money on it. So, it's a long introduction to say why, as an Illinois real estate broker, I could care less. I had an audit on my hours. Somehow they disqualified me for 6 of them. 6 hours I get disqualified. So I took the class. So I go and I call the place where I took the class. The kid's a wonderful kid. Hey, come in. We'll retest you. We'll just do it so we don't. Yeah, okay. So I go in, read the material they give me. I take the test. I pass the test. I send it in. On the bottom of the form, you know what it says? Now, this is a license I've had for 30 years, well, 20-some years. On the bottom, it says $25 an hour. This isn't about disqualifying me 6 hours because I got a big mouth. I talk on radio. At least I don't think so. This is about the fact that they looked at people and they said, who can we get for another $300? Who can we get for another $400? So who pays all these costs? All these, the fraud that's been going on for years that finally sometimes catches up with you when you can't borrow money at 3% juice? All the people who have licenses in the state, all the people who have businesses in the state, all the people who own property in the state. Once again, all the people who were not in on the scam pay for the scam. The idea that you would consider buying real estate in Illinois, I think, has a certain self-loathing quality that you have to possess because everybody knows it. It's the quiet secret that no one really talks about, but everybody knows it. And that's going to be a nice segue, if I was smoother at it, into my next story. U.S. auto workers and the union deadline, union votes to strike. Really? So the union votes to strike, the UAW. Now, if you go into the specificity of the issues here, you realize that what's brought down American motor companies, why they've had to corrupt the government in order to prevent them from competition from foreign, is in fact the union and the government's hand-in-glove orchestration of the union power in manufacturing. In fact, all the people out there who bashed foreign workers, were losing foreign jobs, this is your fault. This is our fault. This is the American government in conjunction with the labor extortion rackets to disincentivize manufacturing, to penalize actual business people who manufacture products, to wrongfully impugn the American businessman, so much so where it was more advantageous for him to become an import-exporter and have the work done in another country. So all of these people who want to blame the consumer and how could you dare look for value, you're blaming the wrong guy again. Again, you're blaming the wrong guy. The reality is the American government made it so auto workers had a very, very difficult time without massive, massive money and massive, massive investments to have any kind of facility that even manufactured as little as parts without being shaken down by the union. And once again, the union proves it is constantly insatiable and constantly an extortion fraud of labor. Because in this article, buried in this article by CNBC, right-wing CNBC, in this article, it talks about what I always like to talk about when I talk about unions. Why aren't we focusing on the union hierarchy? By the way, if you want to call, I got to give out the number, 312-642-5600. Why don't they focus on the union hierarchy? See, this is another one of those things like the city of Chicago where we pretend it is an organized crime. Let's pretend it's not. And I don't know why you do that. I don't know how you walk past people that are clearly extorting the people they say they represent in the workers and openly admitting that they're extorting the people who would hire the workers, and they use them as useful idiots to negotiate these massive bloated payouts that they don't pass on. Because in this article is the absolute fact that they themselves, the union hierarchy, the union leaders, have received a 31% pay increase. 31? And you're fighting and striking GM because the workers, you didn't pass on anything? You didn't negotiate any raise for them? What do you say we give you 21 and we give them 10 and everybody shuts the hell up and gets their fat asses back to work? Here's my offer to you. What do you think the union's going to say? You know, those pretend tough guys, all fat and stupid looking in their Cadillacs tooling around? Those guys who have made the real fortune while using the useful idiot, the worker as a useful idiot, to extort more money out of the company that just wants to stay in business. And they have the audacity to talk about profitability. First of all, these companies aren't profitable. These companies go bankrupt every 10 frickin' years, and every 10 years, the people of the country have to bail it out. And you hide the way they do it. Whether it's 0% loans, whether it's bridge gaps, whether it's funding different products that they're buying individually, whether it's wrapping them in a phony NAFTA bill. It's all one giant collusion of scam and fraud. That's why when a president negotiates trade bills, they want it to be as few people as possible so that president, through direct influence of bad lobbyists, can negotiate things like other countries pay per worker in auto plants, because that's what the new NAFTA does. What do you mean you're creating a trade bill, but you have the balls to stick in what the other countries should pay their workers? What the hell is that? And the guy who wants trade is the globalist? Have the testicle fortitude to recognize the scam and reject it. Or jump in and admit what you are. Some two-bit wannabe mobster. Like all of these frauds that are working hand in glove in Chicago, and all of these frauds that are working hand in glove with these labor extortion rackets we call unions, which don't unite anybody. You know, I laugh every time you talk to a real union worker. I'm not talking about these phony guys who are the business agents and the work in the union. I'm talking about the real worker. And he knows he's being extorted. He knows he's being used as a useful idiot. He knows all these things. And yet, what does he do? He keeps quiet because he wants the raise. So how much is your dignity worth? $3 an hour? Is your dignity worth some phony benefit on your property taxes that you get in Chicago? Or that maybe you're willing to vote anyway they tell you, so your grandkid or your uncle or your brother could stay on the street department? This is why it's a losing scam to stay here. Your fellow citizen has been corrupted. That's why it's never going to turn around. I get these people all the time, and you got to give them credit, right? Facebook, and I don't even know how to work half this shit. I don't have Messenger on my phone, by the way, so if anybody tweets, messages me and I don't answer, it's because I don't have it. I don't want to put it on there. I boycott through my actions. I don't force other people to do like the Republicans. But anyway, they have in these organizations and go to these things, and yeah, okay, great. You want to know what broke my back? What broke the camel's back here is the Jeannie Ives challenging Bruce Rauner. That night, it's over with. Made the absolute decision. Done. Illinois is done. It has no future. Now, yes, I know she's running for Congress, and I hope she wins. But that you have to recognize the macro signs. I don't know if this is what makes guys who have to make money when they start out with nothing versus those who inherit things from the loin lottery. I don't know if that's what makes them different, but you have to have that ability to look at two different things and interpret them, often in two different definitions. Two things can live in the same room. You can have opportunities to maybe still do good here in Illinois. You can. You can have a good job. You absolutely can. You can love your wife and your family, and you can value that as currency. And you can say, all right, I'm just going to take it till it can't take it anymore. Fine, that's your choice. I love it. But you can't deny those macro facts. You cannot deny the macro trajectory of things. I don't care if they're federal, or state, or municipal. You have to recognize the trajectory of where things are headed. And it's not going to do you. Here's another thing. You're never going to get on the inside. All of these guys who got a guy. I know a guy. The alderman. The lobby. I know the guy. Dick Mills sat in my bar. He ordered a drink. He gave me a big tip. Eddie Burke. He had a girl, the girl that's sitting on his lap. She's my third wife's cousin. What? That's not going to help you. They're laughing at you, not with you. They don't look at you as part of the Chicago team. They look at you as a pigeon. You're just a pigeon to them. So to keep quiet under these circumstances, it's ridiculous to me. Don't keep quiet. I don't care what it is. You're in a union. Why do you think they want to use you as one? Why do you think they want to know what you think, how you vote? Why do you think collective bargaining is their big chip? Because they cannot afford for you to be a man or a woman. They cannot afford for you to be an individual. It's like every other freaking scam. And by the way, it's like that in the mob, too. You get out of line if you're an individual, you get clipped. Why? Why do you think it is? Because they reject you being a human being, a person, your own man, your own person. I don't know how the world is going to end. I don't know how your life is going to end. But I know this. I'd rather die broke and my own man than in on this freaking scam. As I sat in some phony baloney job with my feet up, playing video games, waiting for break. How the hell do you live with yourself? It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. And yet these are the ones that government time and time again picks over the working man. See, that's the real, where's the capitalist union? Where's the union for the guys not in on the scam? Where's the bargaining collectively? Ooh, is it the Republicans? The one who sell you out day in and day out? That's the problem. The individual is the smallest minority of all. They want you to think it's about race or origin of your country or your political belief. It's the individual. That's the scariest part to be in America, the individual. Because we went for a country that was built on the individual to one who persecutes it constantly and forever. The other article we had printed up is there's an appetite for progressive tax. Yeah, no shit. No shit there's an appetite for progressive tax. Rather than recognizing the immorality, number one, in the notion that we can look at a man and say, you're really good at making money. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take it from you. Now, we know that if you took that money and you invested it in people, if you invested it in businesses, if you were allowed to control your own money, you'd just screw it up, dummy, even though you were so good at making it. So we're going to have a structure in place that prevents you from really acquiring wealth. And what are we going to do with that money we take from you? We're going to give it to these assholes in Washington who do nothing but lose it, who do nothing but fraud and steal it and manipulate the deals and get paid off to make sure that nothing really gets done. And where are the people, that massive millions of people who may not be good at making money that say, wait a minute, how could you take more from this poor guy who busts his ass? Because it's the flaw of man. You're jealous, you're covetous. And you don't have the balls to rob them. So you want government to do it. Because I got news for you. When you take a guy who's good at making money and you're seizing, in some cases, more than $150,000 a year from one man, you're robbing that son of a bitch. There's nothing he's doing that's worth him paying $150,000 a year. You know, I realize this as a young kid because I never had any money. The minute you start making money, you start taking your money. Every dollar you can imagine you put up in a little savings at the end of the year, they take it from you. It's a penalty. 30%, 35%. And now we got the fellow citizens are cheering for this. They don't know what the hell that guy does to make that money. Because it's the covetous. It taps into the most basic of all evils in humanity, jealousy. And it disarms them. That's why when my kids would talk like this, raising kids, they'd talk about other kids with other stuff, more money, whatever. And I could hear it in the voice, the little jealousy. I'd say, what's wrong with you? You impugn those kids. You should say to that kid every day, you know how lucky you are to have a grandfather who did what he did, or a father who did what he did. You know what that man must have thought, how he prepared, the foresight and the vision that he had to create something or invest in something. You don't have that jealousy. That's the hardest thing to get out of kids is their inherent nature to be jealous. When the fact of the matter is, the blessing should be you should be excited for that person, even if you don't know him. Look at what that son of a bitch did. And the way that men are supposed to think is if one man can do it, another man can. You're supposed to be inspired by that. Not jealous, not covetous, not chanting for these hermaphrodite politicians to steal their shit through some phony law that's created as a weapon. So to me, it's all backwards. To me, we're 180 degrees from the macro concepts and the macro philosophies we should have. So these minutia stories of these ticky-tack atrocities against the man's rights, unalienable rights, am I shocked that Elizabeth Warren wants to do 75% of somebody's income? No. But what I am shocked at is the 50% of the country that supports that bullshit. That, to me, is shocking. Just as shocking as these union members who sit idly by, pretend to be victims of companies that freaking pay them instead of victims of the extortion racket that's in the middle of that. That's who's victimizing you, union worker, is your phony, fat-ass business agent and everybody above him. They're not on your team. You can't even look at this Trumpka and see what a scumbag he is. I think he's SEIU, AFLO. Who gives a shit how they want to break it down? It's one giant scam with different monikers. Sickening. Honestly, it's just sickening. So that's why, kid, I'm going to die broke, but I'm going to do it on a beach. And I'm perfectly happy with that. Because you know what? I'll have lived on my feet every frickin' day. I didn't bow. Pride, dignity, character, that shit's expensive. To not have it and throw in with the rabble, the citizens from Frankenstein's village as they light the torches to burn anything they hate or don't understand, that's easy. And it's weak. And it's simple. Reject that. So that's what I wanted to accomplish here on the Liberty Hour on our first day back. Now, I have to tell you, I am very excited. You're looking at me like I'm going to say something wrong. I'm going to say something wrong? Am I not supposed to tell them about My Pillow? I'm going to be endorsing My Pillow. I'm very excited about it. First of all, can I tell you what happened with My Pillow? My wife bought a My Pillow. And I didn't know this. Gave it to my daughter. My daughter has been using it forever. So I got asked, and I would say it here. I read in the morning. I go, I don't have a My Pillow. So they sent me the sheets. They sent me everything. I am so excited. I got to tell you, the sheets are fantastic. I cannot wait to record the My Pillow commercial. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be recording the My Pillow commercial. I am going to be on Thursday and Friday on the Slap and Tickle Drive Time where we talk about this kind of thing. And that's another thing. To me, what is talk radio? I don't want to be in an echo chamber. Do you? Do you want to have some guy? And I'm not insulting any one host. I'm really not trying to anyway. Do you just want to be shouted out with shit you like? Yes, Iran, $150 billion. They gave them the money and now they screw them. Without focusing on the fact, wait a minute, did you even investigate that? You do realize we didn't give them any frickin' money. We let them have access to their own money that we froze for 30 years. I mean, it's expensive to have character, and it's hard work. If you want to be led around with a ring in your nose, join a frickin' union. Go sit on your ass in a municipality. Wait for pensions to work. And you want to talk about some jealous son of a bitches, go look at these two organizations, and you'll see some jealous people. Why would you want to be led around by your nose? I don't get it. Same thing with information. When any politician tells you something that doesn't make sense to you, look it up. It's not hard. This is everywhere. They've been writing about this for a decade. That's not true. I didn't like Obama either. He was a fraud. By the way, his wife would scare a frickin' bulldog off a meat truck. But he didn't give Iran $150 billion of our money. He gave them their money that they sanctioned away in the beginning, 20 years before Obama was even heard of. So you cannot like somebody and not believe every nonsense lie somebody else tells about him. God almighty. I don't know how we're ever going to correct things. Probably not, except for my little village, my little piece of my sand that I steal from somebody, because I'll go, thank God, I'll eminent domain it right on the beach. Little box around me. That'll be my little island. Unless I can afford to get another one through My Pillow endorsements. I don't know how that works. Still didn't look at the numbers. But anyway, I've got to go cut this commercial. And I'm going to be back tomorrow. We're going to do a podcast. I promise, Justin, I'll use the clips. I have the poor kid load all the clips. I don't think we used one. Did we use one? Did we use one? Here, let's use one. All right. And by the way, did you hear Proft today? Steal my Grady? That's my Grady. I'm the first one that looked at Tony Prockwinkle and said Grady. You can't help but notice the resemblance. I'll tell you, you want to talk about a guy that's heterosexual, is the guy that can look past that kisser to get to the promised land. That's some crazy stuff there. Here you go.
Every Monday, like clockwork, police promote their efforts to get illegal guns off the streets. Today, it was the arrest of these 5 people after a gang search warrant netted 2 guns, including an AR-15 and a handgun converted to fire full automatic. Citywide this weekend, cops collected 84 illegal guns.
Well, I think it's important to understand
Listen to that voice,
where we are in terms of the violence.
Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle is defending a bail reform program that police say allows too many people arrested with guns to get out of jail in a matter of hours or days.
99+% of the people who are out on electronic monitoring or their own recognizance
My wife says I'm mean when I
are
do
not rearrested for a violent offense. It's more than 99%, so less than 1% of the people who are released on their own recognizance or electronic monitoring are picked up for a new violent offense.
What's that
Chicago police data tell a different story. In the last 4 months, 892 people arrested on a felony gun charge were able to post bond, even though roughly half had previous felony gun arrests.
So she lied.
75 have since been rearrested. That's a 12% rearrest rate for those on bond.
This struck a chord with me. Let me tell you something. That's not that she lied. She of course she lied. That's what she does. She's a Viagra slayer. By the way, how much Viagra and Chevis would it take? I haven't had a drink in 18 years. Take a lot, I'll tell you that. Anyway, if you listen to what's going on with the gun thing, what do you mean you're not arresting these guys? Get arrested, they post bond, they leave, they get all the weapons, the ones you say you hate, that you want to use the acts of these lowlifes against the law-abiding people. What do you mean you're letting them out? You're not trying them and all this nonsense. You know why? Because it's a gang. Instead of gun control, next time somebody in Chicago says gun control, you know what I want to say? Gang control. Because what do you think gang is? You think that gang's just the kids you see with their pants down below their ass? You think that's all a gang is? That's not. That's not all a gang is. In fact, the gangs in Chicago, they've been around for decades and decades and decades. In fact, you know what the plan was? By the El Rukins, and what was it? Ford, whatever the hell his name was, Jesse Jackson's stepbrother. It was to legitimize the business of gangs. That's why he's the first gang member to ever get $1 million grant from the government in the 60s for an after-school program. Did you know that? Yeah. How many of those senior guys who recognize that, who now, by the way, are in their late 60s, how many of them have infiltrated government? How many of them have infiltrated these aldermen and are working as gang lobbyists that are funding money so that politicians are using their influence to create these ghettos? That's who's creating ghettos, is government. And that's who's protecting them. That's why the skullduggery and the black markets live in the ghettos. How much of this gang has infiltrated itself into Chicago politics? So when they say gun control, I say gang control. Let's get an idea of exactly who these gang members are, who they're affiliated with, who their lawyers are. See, because they've got an entire network. Gangs aren't what we think it is. The Jets and the Sharks fighting each other in an alley. That's not a gang. Gangs have legitimized themselves over decades. Gangs have 70-year-old members in them who walk around with glasses and look like businessmen. Some even look like aldermen. That's what gangs are. So when Chicago touts gun control, I say gang control. And maybe we have some hope with this new FBI director if he's not in on the scam. Maybe. But don't tell me that that's our hope when 100 years of this nonsense corruption has not only gone on, but harvested itself to what you see today. So maybe there is a little hope. But anyway, listen, I got to go shoot a My Pillow commercial. I'll talk to you later. I have had a great time. We'll be back tomorrow.